I mean, I'm assuming that darkness falls at the end of this session.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So what the Poles can't win this, but they never could. The question is, can they do enough to be able to withdraw the bulk of the army overnight?
Right, so there's some of them are actually heading that direction anyway, aren't
Yes, well, so if I take you through how I see it and see what you think. I mean, if we start from the weekend, it seems to me that the extreme left flank just can't be held. Even by about 3-1.
they? Yeah. Although they're sort of sheltered behind a wall.
Yes. So I think what I'm going to do is, I mean, one of the advantages of Polish dragoons is they're not like dragoons in the West. You can actually use them as light cavalry. Their horses are up to it.
But they are horses.
Yeah, whereas dragoon horses in the West were nags and hobbies and all that. They weren't up to much. They were just for mobility. So, I mean, my idea is to abandon the left here, mount up the dragoons and use them as light cavalry like this. Fire everything from the redoubt, and then Stuarts will do the collapsing bag thing.
They'll go back.
Out of the
other-
back.
Not all Stuarts do, there's another group there too.
Well, the gunners will have to go as well. The Polish foot, I mean, it really hinges on whether this regiment manages to sort itself or collapse. And if there's a gap there,
Just come out of the
then we're in serious trouble.
sea.
I mean, that should never have happened. You beat the odds I worked it out, you beat the odds 3 times in a row
Yeah.
to reach that situation. And this is now quite serious. If this regiment breaks, then we're in dire straits.
Well, and these will be coming up behind.
Well, they will. The only possibility there is if I can
they-
stop them with artillery. I mean, the ideal situation for me is going to be to smash up this squadron but not wipe it out. If I smash it up and it's ineffective, but some of them are still milling about there, that'll cause a bit of delay, one turn of delay until they can get out of the way and clear the front for the next lot. During that, he might be able to restore their morale. He needs a clear turn to do that. He can't do it while this is going on.
Right.
So if I can stop that, and the way the rules work, if I wipe them out, there's no obstruction to you.
Right.
So it's actually to my advantage to smash them up without wiping them out. But you can't predict that, that's all in the numbers. The idea over here would then be to try to disengage and fall back and hold this line, and again hope for the guns to slow you down, detach the back regiment of Husaria and send them up here to plug this hole, and burn the bridges as we retire.
Right.
I mean,
And some of them go out this way, presumably.
well, you see that, not really. If we take the context into mind, that's supposed to be 100 miles of open country. It's just steppe. You know, if you don't have your wagons and you don't
To
have,
feed people, no.
you've got to be able to feed them and supply
And
them.
arm them.
Yeah.
So they've really all got to go over this way.
They've got to get out here because we can create the river is unfordable. If we burn the bridges, then that gives us
Then
half a
you've
day.
escaped.
Yeah. If we get away during the night, burn the bridges
Yep.
at dawn, then that gives us half a day while you rebuild bridges,
And
and we're
your
off.
soldiers here have all then got to move up to
They've all
there,
got to collapse down.
including the people in here.
Yes, and for the infantry that's really difficult.
Right.
The cavalry can do it, but
But you've got a lot of infantry down here.
yeah, but the infantry are all concentrated here
Yeah.
to here really.
Yeah.
So it's not good, but it's not yet hopeless. And there was no way we were ever going to stop you. And if you look at it, you haven't committed any of the Tartar reserve,
No.
or any of the Turkish cavalry reserve, or any of the Janissary Corps.
No,
You've got overwhelming force
the
out there.
Janissaries were beginning to come forward, I think.
Yes, they are. But you know, we can't stop this. It's a delaying action. at
Right,
best.
okay, well,
Long fashion chasing the runners, and that doesn't count as a breakthrough. It only counts as a breakthrough if units come through formed,
right, okay. And the red marker again.
and mine is even worse than yours. These are going to break this time, barring a miracle. And then you'll have to do the pursuit test.
Whether we follow them or not, or just let them
Yes,
go.
yeah. If you can hold, then that body would count as the beginnings of a breakthrough. If you can't and they just go off pell-mell after the runners, then it doesn't count.
Okay, and these are the ones that are, no, that's not the ones that have the mark on one side of them, is it?
No, it's the red one.
ones,
It's
the red
like
ones,
it's like
yes.
traffic lights.
Yes.
Green is the least
Mm-hmm.
seriously depleted command. Yellow is the middle one.
And red's-
Red is the most serious, and when you turn it over, it's got an R on the bottom, and that's them routed.
Right, okay. You advised, you said turn them slightly, and
Yeah.
I did, because they were straight on.
I mean, you're beyond the
Yes.
centre there, and
Yes.
if I try to swing to my left, supposing I kept up what I was trying to do, then you would be in on the flank. So you've diverted it already, really.
They're all converging on
Yeah.
you guys, right?
So there we are. It's not good.
Right.
You know, there'll be some of his officers mumbling behind his back saying, this should never have been done. We should have gone yesterday.
Yes.
To blown up the guns, burned everything that we couldn't carry,
I know
gone.
this is not an actual battle, it's a generic thing, but I mean, how many days would it take them to fight this? Would they do it all in a
Oh,
day?
one.
One day?
One,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
One long day. It's not a siege. And the weakness is that the Polish army has no reserve.
And nobody's coming up at the back?
No, there should be a reserve here to plug these gaps. But it was either not cover the line or not have a reserve. So he's gambled, and at the moment it looks as though it's not working.
Well, we'll see, things can change.
Yeah, things can change. Right.
Right.
So the first thing is movement, isn't it? So, and the first part of movement is anybody wishing to charge has to put down
They're over
the
here,
charge
that's
marker.
lovely.
Yes, you've got yours and I've got mine here, I think. So you need a blue marker with a curly cap on it if you want to charge, and you place it face down so that I can't see it. No, that's another set.
No, yes, it's not that.
It's that one up the top.
It's this one, yes.
Yeah. So any unit wishing to charge needs a charge marker, which is this one. Blue with a wee
Yes.
sticker that says C on it, but you place
Yes,
it
and
face
place
down.
So that, and some of them don't have anything in there.
And yeah, and you can place blanks where you want to try to fool me that you're going to charge.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think I've got many charges to make.
Right, we're starting at this end.
Anyway you like, we'll place them for the whole table and then play them out from one end to the other. There's one there.
Now, if you're right up against, I mean, these troops are completely against, they're engaged really, aren't they?
They don't have
So
to
they're
charge,
not, they're not
just,
charging
no,
anywhere.
they're just engaged.
And
Same there, same there.
And there's no point in charging into the back of your own forces.
No. Well, yes and no. There is, you can support a melee, but in this one you can't because it's only the second turn of it. And you've got two in and I've got two in. So nobody can support it this time. Next
And
time
not-
you could
not
throw
that
somebody
this
in.
time either. I mean, there's no point really.
No.
Certainly not charging them, maybe moving them but not charging.
Yeah. Yeah. Your dilemma here is, of course, if you push forward, you shorten the range for all the shooters here.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a nasty business.
These, are they alongside somebody else? Are they two guys, two?
He's one of the Turkish cavalry generals and his staff.
Right,
That's what
so
those
he's
two
not
are.
really good to
He's
be
a pasha
charging
of
anyway.
2 horsetails. This is the remnant of part of his command that you've been using to mask this fire so that I don't divert it over here.
Right. These are oh Lord.
I've put one down here as well, Margaret, which may look a bit odd, but there is a reason for that.
Right, okay. Well, I think I can't actually reach that. The brown,
They've got nobody to charge.
no,
Or
they need to, they move,
They
but
can-
they
but
don't
yeah, they don't need a
charge.
marker
No,
for that.
No, I don't think anybody's really charging against anybody,
No,
and you can't,
I've
the
got
foot
no more.
soldiers, you can't really charge foot soldiers either.
Well, what you could do, you've spent the time and paid the butcher's bill to tear down this section of the,
The wall, yes.
the palisade.
Right, but again,
So this rather battered unit
Could
could
charge
charge,
against that.
could charge the defended palisade.
yeah, well, they're a bit battered, but let's just
But that's what they're there for.
do that, yes. And we'll move these but not charge.
Yeah, they're skirmishers for the next wave. And that's your heavy cavalry.
I think they need to be moving somewhere.
Right, now that's the one, what you've got to decide. This one is going against you.
So
Right.
we really need reinforcements.
So if you want to reinforce it, you would put a charge marker on the first squadron only.
Let's do that.
And then they're charged by 2 waves in successive turns. That's it. Right, that's for these dragoons.
Well, I think we'll also try one here then.
Gosh, I'll get it. Oh, I've seen that, so put that back in your box and start again. Remember, they may not be charges that I'm putting down.
Right, okay.
They may be, there's a thing called reforming the ranks, which won't concern you at the moment, but I'll explain it when it happens.
So that's really all we're doing at the moment, right?
Mm.
I think.
Oh, and I've forgotten one. This is how mistakes get made. Again,
I
that's,
think that lots of people are going to be moving but not actually charging.
yeah. Right, the blue markers, and we're committed to doing that. Right, this is not a charge, that's an R, that's reform, which I'll explain in a moment. That's a charge, right, okay. So they're going to charge these buildings, which they're going to find by the time they get there are empty.
Oh, you're running away.
The dragoons are scarpering. In fact,
That's not really fair.
they're collapsing back out here
Right,
and
okay.
mounting up as fast as they
To
can.
run away.
Yeah, it takes them half a move to reach their horses,
Half a move,
Half a move to get
and then they've
mounted.
got to get way up to the top.
so they won't be moving this time.
Right.
They'll be there, but mounted.
Right.
Right.
Well, I suppose if they're charging up here, they still might fire
Yeah.
on them.
Well, that becomes what's called a failed charge, because you're not actually making contact.
Right.
And what would happen is you would move a standard move
To there.
and just stop.
Right.
Now that would be a bad place to be if this was defended, but it's
If
not,
they're
so it
going
ain't.
to Run away. But they're not going to know that, are they?
No, they're not going to know until they've done it. That's why the sequence this lot anyway. So they'll probably just all go. They don't get wages, they only get plunder.
And that's their leader. on the
That's their
horse.
boss. This is where it gets a wee bit physically complicated. All these dismounted horses have to come off. Dismounted dragoons come off.
So they're just not there, they're not still on the table trying to get up to the other end.
Or you'll see in a moment
Right,
what they're doing. And this wee civilian party just runs like beggary for it.
You get different ones than horses.
Yeah, pity we didn't give you horses, isn't it? And the regiment is
So they're
ready to
they're
move.
ready to
but-
run away, but then haven't yet gone.
Well, one would,
Well, they
I would
have.
call it a withdrawal, you might call it running away.
Strategic withdrawal.
Yeah, that's right. To prepare positions, just like Dunkirk.
It's invalid.
All planned in advance. Yes.
Right, so that's done.
And the same thing for the gunners.
Well, the guns are going too.
I can't leave them on their own, there's no support.
Right.
So that hitches up and take the wee ammunition cart with them. That takes them half a move, so they actually get moving, but not very far about there. Because there's no fire coming and
That's
the heads have disappeared. So they're very pleased with themselves, I think. They've checked.
difficult to know what they're going to actually do now. They haven't done much all along except creep through the bushes.
Well, they'll go into these buildings and see if they can find anything worth sticking in their pockets because they don't get paid.
Doesn't look like there's anything much in there.
No. But the local population left, they took everything they could carry.
Right. Okay, so where do we go now then?
Right, so that was that. That
This.
doesn't need it, that doesn't need it. It's this one. Charge, yes? Right. You've got the, you see, that's heavy cavalry maximum charge, so you just made it. You can throw them in next time, so you have another fresh one. Okay, now what's that? That's that one, isn't it? So the next one is here. That's a charge. They're going to charge the palisades.
Yep.
Right, well, Stuarts have got no marker down. They're going to stand
Right.
and they're going to stick their muskets down their throats and shoot. I'll explain to you what happens there in a moment once we've run along the line. So that's a charge. We'll leave that there till we've done it. The next blue is not until here. And that's got an R, you won't see it from there, but that's got an R on it. That's a reform the ranks, which takes a full turn. So what's happening is, what I told you at the beginning, this rear regiment of Husaria is forming a movement column and they're going to go off to the centre to try to plug the gap,
Right.
which we think is going to emerge. So that's that one. I fouled it up. It's a blank. It's nothing. You see, that's exactly what I was telling you. The writing rule. This has been mis-sorted on a previous occasion and put in the wrong compartment. So that's bad staff work. That was supposed to be another R, and they were going to reform back.
Right. And you've got another one here with an R.
But they've actually, well, that must be. No, that's a route.
Well, that's a
Those
route.
are runaways.
And these are, that's mine.
Yes,
Right.
that's yours.
So
So
they
they've
just take
actually,
them off the table then.
well, they keep going until you can stop them. You have, when they're routed, you have to get a general to them to get a crack at stopping them.
Right.
You may decide it's not worth your while, but the generals are doing other more important things.
Here.
That fella, yeah.
Right, okay, so
So that's a mistake. They just do nothing.
nothing.
Temporary failure of purpose.
Communications to have.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
We've got to resolve this charge right now. The way this works is they're going to be charging over open ground now because they've
Yep.
cleared that, a defended palisade. The distance is only 4 inches. Their charge move is 10, so they can easily do it. But
Against the guns.
it's a barrier and it's held. So the question is, how much fire do they take on the way in? And the way this works is, we measure the distance. It's 4. The range brackets for these muskets are 0 to 6 inches is short, 6 to 12 is standard, 12 to 18 is long, and it gets less effective. So it's short, but you have to throw a die to decide what range you fire at, because of course there's a nerves factor involved here.
Right.
The question is, can they hold their nerve and fire at short range? if they roll, and it's two dice. No, still hold the barricade with their swords and their clubbed muskets.
So if you throw a 5 or a 6, they don't get shot.
If I throw anything on a standard test, because it's short range, if I throw anything below a 5, no, if I throw 3 or above, I wouldn't get it, because it's divided by thirds, short,
Right.
medium, long. However, they're an elite regiment, so they're one better than that. So if I roll anything below a 4, they don't get the shot. So I've got a 50-50 chance basically of firing at short range.
Right.
They need 3 or under to do it. And that is, I'm afraid, a 4. So they don't
get shot.
get a shot. The charge comes in.
Right.
Mind you, there's 4 rings on there, that one's gone. So that's what's coming in.
Not much.
No.
So these are going to go in the box.
The charge comes in and it's hand strokes. We'll settle that in a moment.
So what do we need to
That
do?
goes in your box. We're not doing it yet, we'll just work through the sequence. That goes back in your box. Make sure it goes in the right space with the other C's. And that was the only charge, apart from that one, wasn't it?
Yes.
Right, so it's ordinary movement now. Movers who are not charging. Right, what the hell? There's activity going on here among the engineers. What they're actually doing is preparing tar barrels and combustibles in
For the
case they
bridge.
get an opportunity to
To
burn
go
the
up.
bridges. This bridge is still barricaded
Right.
and held. This one isn't.
But it's been built now, so they
Yeah.
can cross it.
They won't have time to dismantle it, so if they're going, we're going to have to burn it.
Right. So you're moving any of your...
No, I can't.
You're not. Well,
You got ordinary movement?
yes.
We'll do that
I'm gonna
now.
move these
Where do you want them?
closer up behind.
Closer
to the
up behind.
left.
About there.
Yes, that's fine. Okay.
What's he going to do? He's the
Well,
boss.
he's the leader, isn't he?
Yeah.
Just fall in behind him, I think.
Right, so about there. He doesn't
Yeah,
need to go
that's
very
fine.
far.
Right. And I think we'll bring these forward as well.
Right. Well, they can move up to 10.
Move them just now.
No.
too. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Await events.
Await event. Right. And these.
They could do the same thing. They could
Yes,
move up
let's
as
move them.
support. Anything under. Well, they're light cavalry, so
Yeah,
anything
that.
under 12. No. Come on, Tim. I'm not thinking straight. Light cavalry is 10. Anything under 10, they can move.
So
Up to
this is
10.
movement, but not firing yet.
Yes, just
right,
movement.
okay. These are. I think they can just stay back and watch what's happening. Do you know?
He's only used about a third or fourth cup of over strong coffee. Having a fine day.
Right, we're going to move these.
Right, you should do. For them.
Yes.
Well, they can get to about
So
there,
there,
which is nearly full distance. It's 2 units, strictly speaking, but that doesn't matter. They can
Right, you can fall
do it
in
like
behind
this
each other.
to come
And
through
these-
the gap.
Yes, so that's fairly well covered, that lot. Right, okay, so what have we here?
Well, this is there's the Rocketeer.
Yes,
You could swing him. If it was me, I'd take him out of the way because he can't do much there now without dropping him in among his own people.
just see them, but
Well-
yes, all of them.
Your skirmishers have
And the
stacked up a
stake
wee
there
bit.
with
They're part of them.
them, right.
Just room there, we'll call it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. And well, they won't collide with the headbangers because they'll get their throats cut if they do.
These are the headbang.
Yeah.
So are they staying put? Will we move
Well,
them?
you got a bit of a traffic jam here.
It's too much.
Convergence.
We'll leave that just now.
These are the skirmishers
Yes.
for the headbangers.
Right. Well, we could move them.
You could move them up to
here.
engage with the
Yes.
gun crew.
Yes.
Apart if they're going to stay in skirmish order.
And the heavy cavalry are coming up.
Right, now where are you going to throw these? Are you going to throw these at the redoubt or down the road?
At this gun here.
Right, okay. So they're getting positioned for that. They can't do it yet because there's too much traffic. But they can get in position for it. They're frothing at the mouth by now. And who's he? He's the deputy Aga, the janissary. He's in charge of them.
No.
Now they wait. This lot have just gone in.
That's the heavy. That's right.
the second squadron of the heavy cavalry.
And these.
And they're all engaged,
They're
with this remnant of mine
and we've
here.
moved them.
Yeah.
So I think that's it.
Right, let's do a last check. Is there anybody else at all you want to do ordinary movement for? These sitting here doing nothing, Margaret, do they want to just sit there?
No, I don't think they do.
They might want to go back, or they might try to go forward.
Can they turn round and attack these ones from the rear?
They could. It would cost them half a move to turn. They haven't got a charge order, so they can't actually charge in, but they could shuffle up here for next time.
Yeah.
Then continue exchanging arrows
Yeah,
with this
let's
lot.
do that. And there are
Right.
not very many of these.
Or fall back.
We've moved those, have we?
No, you haven't, not yet.
Right, well they're going to have to come round here.
Oh, right, okay. So you want to go full distance?
Yes,
Right, well, light cavalry full distance is there.
that's fine because they're supporting these.
Are you going to bring forward the
Yes,
mass?
yes, all of them.
Alright.
I'm just going for it in a big way. At least 3 coming or going. Oh, they're the boss.
I think, no, they're just a remnant of
They're
an
a
earlier
remnant,
squadron.
Right, okay.
The bosses are him for the first lot,
Right.
and the overall boss is
Yeah.
him.
And we need to get these out the road. There's a red marker at them.
Well, they're routing, so
Yes.
and nobody came to try
No,
to stop
so
them
I think they
routing,
need
so
to
they'll
go.
go 20. They're not
Right.
quite off the field
No,
yet, but they will be next time.
Near enough. Yeah, these just need to get out of the way. Right. All for now.
Yeah, right, we'll move on to firing then. Start from this end since we're here.
Yeah.
Well, it's me to start then.
Right.
Whoa, look at this. What a target. And they can't get at us. It's not so bad being a soldier, is it? Perhaps I won't go back to the peasanting. Perhaps I'll join up.
Okay.
Ranges for artillery I'm looking. Light guns, not to 12 inches. They only need a 2 to hit. Now, well, you can see why. It's short range and a huge target.
Yep.
So anything bar a 1 is a hit there. And here it comes. Bang. It's a 6, so that's a hit. So they now roll for damage. And they get a 3 on a light gun. It'll be 1. Yes, so that takes an unimpressive 1 of them. And no morale test. Right. What are we going to do? The big gun. We'll fire on them. And that's a range of about 4. No, it's not. It's a range of about 12 for a big gun. Heavy guns range. 48. Right, so it's anything but a 1 again. That's a hit. So damage is 3 for a heavy gun. Still 1, so it's 1 of them. You're not going to stop them like that. The peasant militia will fire on the same target. Their ranges are 4, 8, 12. So So they're in standard range up to there. Well, we'll just forget about those two. So 6 of them fire at a factor of 2 against them. 6 at 2, they need a 5. Armoured 2, 3 at 2, you need a 6. No. I've got 5 at 3, I need a 4 or better.
Right.
Any more shootery? Yes, well, hand strokes
Well,
separately.
we come to that separately,
Yeah.
right? No, no, I think they'll be for the
Right, or bows of course.
No, of course.
Right, so there'll be an exchange here. Hopefully we can finish this squadron off at last. First of all, it's the big gun. I think it's probably now canister range. Yes, it is. It's 6 or under. Canister for a big gun. Grape shot. Roll a d6. Right, well I still need to hit. So anything but a 1 to hit. They hit. And then a canister with 4, that should do some harm. 4, so they're wiped out twice each.
Right.
Powder dust out of their eyes. You ever seen matchlock muskets being fired
No.
by the reenactors? The amount of smoke they throw off is absolutely horrendous. And you know, some rules put in a factor that after 2 or 3 volleys, they're more or less firing blind.
Really?
Yeah.
Can't see anything.
Yeah, you can't see anything.
Right.
Which is why smokeless powder was such a tremendous
What would be?
gain in the 19th century. Musketeers don't fire. Come on. Let's hope God really is Polish.
Poor pissy.
Well, that's a wee bit in the future. Must be a bunch of eye ties at the moment, aren't they? It's all a wee club. Right, so that's unfortunately just over 6, so that's not canister. They need a 2 to hit. They get it. They fire. They get a 5. Right, so it's a heavy gun. Oh, wowee. They get 4 for that.
Right. Well,
So
that's
that
just
is exactly the result I wanted.
Right. Okay.
So,
So
Wax them and one of them, but still leaves a remnant in their way.
that's what you wanted. Then.
Yeah.
Right.
At last, some of the gunners have found their form. So you're in with a thin chance now, boys. They'll fire at the squadron behind at a range of just under 12, well, 10 and a half. So for a light gun, they need a 4 to hit at that range, which they get. So it's a hit against them with light artillery, which rolls a 4. Damage chart, light guns 4, that takes 1 of them. They can't fire because they're bogged down in this melee. This regiment is in good order, it fires, and it's simultaneous with your skirmishers. So I'll go first physically, but any casualties I inflict still count for your
Right,
firing.
okay.
So I'm firing 15 at standard range with a factor of 3. No, it's not standard range because they're skirmishers. At standard range -1. 15 at 2. So I get 1 casualty and roll for the test. And we inflict a morale test because it's a 6. So you lose 1. But we don't put that on yet because it counts towards your firing, and test their morale at -1 please, because they're raw.
6.
They pass it, they don't care, they don't give a damn. Right, well you better shoot back. So you've got, he counts for this shooting although he's a casualty. So you've got 8 at standard range, 8 at 3. 8 at 3 with the crossbows, you need a 3 or better. No. So that casualty now counts. I've slightly got a better of that as well. Right, well we can see what's coming here. So they're going to touch off this infernal machine. What this counts as is 12 muskets. It's actually a great bank of musket barrels on a frame. You touch it off at the centre and it fires outwards in pairs. So it's 12 at 3, but short range 4. 12 at 4. The homegrown rule for reloading is 2 barrels per figure per turn. Right. So it would take them 3 full turns to reload that. So there's no chance. Right, now yours fire, and he doesn't count, right, because the sequence of the game is that artillery fire comes first. So you've got 5 at 3, moved 2, covered target 1, open order target 0, short range 1. So you've got 5 at 1. You need a 6. Oh heck.
That's them gone.
Yeah, well no, it's half of them gone. Yeah, however many of them there are.
But they can't really fire again.
No, it would take him 6 turns to reload. Well, it's a group. It would take what's left 6 turns. Basically what he'll do now is chuck some powder over it, put a match to it and run.
Right.
Burn it, burn the carriage.
Okay, so where are we at now?
I'll just remind myself, it's time to skedaddle. We're here. Stuarts didn't get a volley in against them, so those that can will fire at the next wave, which is from about there. Yeah? So it's 24 minus 2, 4, 6. 18 of them will fire at these skirmishers at standard range. So it's 18 at 3, elite musketeers 4, open order 3, open order target 3. So it's 18 at 3 is 1.3, get 2 of them, which is that. And your skirmishers can reply, of course, so you count 2 for those. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, given the benefit of the doubt. 10. 10 at basic 3, moved 2, covered target 1. 10 at 1, needed 5.
4.
No. Yeah, but we know it's without result. Have I missed any shooting then?
No, these are hand to hand, aren't
Yeah.
they? As are these.
Yes.
Right, so
Right,
we're back
so
up
we do
to
that.
hand to hand then.
Yeah. Okay, well might as well start at this end.
We'll start at the centre.
Have you put these ones in this time? Is that a new charge, this thin
Yes,
squadron?
yes.
Right, okay. So we'll calculate you first. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at 3. Now you're shaking command already. That may reduce your numbers. I think it does. Command shaken. No, it doesn't. Shaken command doesn't affect your melee numbers. And then 3 at 5. You need a 4 again.
Go off lightly there.
A faint whiff of opportunity here, because mine are going forward.
Yes.
So I've got 5, 6, 7 at 3 advancing 4, cavalry advancing 5, but they don't get their lances because it's not the first round of melee. The lances are gone now. So I've got 7 at 5. 7 at 5 is 1, and the 6 gets me a second. You miss 1 of yours. So that's gone. You're the loser of melee, so you are pushed and tested. At net -2, 1 for the difference in casualties and 1 for being raw. So morale test at -2, please, Margaret. 1 on a command test is not good. 1, and you're already shaken. You drop to lost, which is red. So if we push you again, you break.
Right.
That doesn't include him, he's the boss. You can stiffen it up next time by putting him in, which will give them a
Right.
net, what's the opposite of net? Gross, a gross +1. But he then becomes a potential casualty. So it's up to you.
And if he becomes a casualty, then
It means you've got nobody to rally any of that command
Right.
that get into trouble.
okay.
So that's still going forward, that one, from my point of view.
Okay.
This one is a slightly different kettle of fish. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at 3, but they're halved because they're disrupted command. So can you roll to see, please, if you get the odd figure? If you 4 or better gets you 3 of them. No, 2 of them count. So you've got 6 at 6 and 2 at 5. 6 at 6 is quite chunky. 1 and a 6 gets you a second one. Right, so it's pretty much kaput already. And then you get 2 of the Uruks at 5. You need a 5 for them. No. Right, well, gives me good night, Sergeant Major. 1, 2, 3, 4, halved for lost. 2 at 4 is my miserable score.
They're all off.
So they're off the field. They're off the field and running. Now this is the interesting bit. This is the pursuit test. What your boys do with their victory. And with depleted command it gets a bit iffy. Pursuit test. If wishing to hold following an opponent's route, well, that's what you would want to do, isn't it? You would want to hold and reorganise yourselves.
Yes.
You could just opt for a disorderly pursuit if you want to, but there's no point in that.
They've gone, so
Yeah, so yeah, that's right. You want to stop and rally, but they've got depleted command, so they may not do it. D6. If you'll have to do it twice. Once for those who are in the least depleted state, shaken, and once again for those who are in a more depleted state, disrupted. The added complication is that these are trained troops, so they do a PAR test. These are raws, so they'll get a -1.
right.
Kind of complicated, but so if we do them first, shaken. What are the modifiers? Elite, general, raw, so only the raw modifier counts. Okay, so you want something fairly high. What do you get? The higher the better. 2 is not good. 0 to 3 normal command. 0 to 3 shaking command. Pursue. So they
They are
pursue,
pursuing.
and they'll be worse. So try for them. They're on a -4.
Right.
4. Wait a minute. 4. But they're on disrupted command, so they pursue as well. So the whole lot
They're
go off
following
chasing
them.
the
Right,
runners.
okay, so they're off the field as well, really.
Yeah. So if you take them away, they're off the field as well. Those are all irrelevant now.
Yeah.
Can go back in the box. This lot are either dead or running for their lives. Back in your box. That goes back in my box. And it's this one. Right, mine's easier to calculate. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Basic 4, going forward 5, cavalry going forward 6. But I lose my more heavily armoured now because the majority of yours are heavies. You've got 5 heavies and 3 mediums. So it's that 4, 5, 6. I've got 8 at 6. 8 at 6 is 1.4. Lost my dice. There. Okay, 8 at 6. 1.4. We get 2 and inflict a test. Whoa! So that would be 1 of each. No, wait a minute, how do we? No, it's the lead squadron that takes the flak, isn't it? So it's 2 of them. And an immediate test. And they're all par, so 4 or better and you beat this test.
Before I get a chance to
You
shoot.
will hit back anyway.
Right. 4.
So they slide that off, that has no effect on them. Now it's your hit. And you've got 3 at 4. 3 at 4. You need a 5.
6.
Oh, it's a slim glimmer of light starts to fade. They fail it and go shaken, green. Land 7, but they're not more heavily armoured because mine are heavies. So you get an additional 5 at 7, which is 1 and roll for the test. 1. So in the end, it's a bloody draw. But mine have suffered a command depletion.
So it's a draw. Not one.
Yeah, the casualties were even, but my commands, you know, a significant officer's got knocked down or something.
Right. Okay.
Whereas yours haven't. Yours have stayed steady.
Yeah, but there's not so many of them.
No. You remember what I said to you? The Turks always lead with the cannon fodder.
Yeah.
And the quality weights to see weights events. Whereas we do it the other way around. The quality's in front.
Right.
Right. Well, you're charging with 8. So you're 8 at basic 3, charging 4, covered target 3. So you've got 8 at 3. The palisade only counts for the first turn. If we end up there at the end of this, then it's even Stevens and we're both covered next time.
Okay.
So 8 at 3, you need a 3 or better.
3.
That's the first casualties that Stuarts have suffered. 8 at 4. I beg your pardon, that should have been 8 at 2, I'm sorry. What did you roll?
3.
8 at 2 needs a 4, in fact you do, sorry.
Didn't get it.
My mistake, you don't get that one. I didn't take the factor off for the defence. Mine hit back with 8 at 4. I hate it when that happens because it looks as though you're changing the outcome. 8 at 4, I get 1 and roll for the test. No test. But I inflict 1 casualty, which means they are knocked back and tested at net -2 because they're raw. So you need a pretty high one. 1, their command drops to disrupted, so they get a yellow. So Stuart's beat that off in fine style. He's a casualty. Yes, what I forgot to do there was to take off the defensive strength of the palisade. What I was saying was, if they had stayed there this time, then it would have been, that would have counted as cover for both next time.
Right.
So I'm pushing you here. This one.
Yep.
And your fellas have not reinforced it. They've moved up to support, or are they in?
Oh, I think they're fighting as
They're
well.
in with it,
Yes,
right? Okay. Well, in that case, mine's simpler because mine are already in. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 at 4, more heavily armoured 5. 8 at 5 against you. You get 3 at 3 for the first wave. 3 at 3. You need a 6. No. And then you get 5 at 5 for those that are charging in. You need a 2 or better. So I win that by 1 casualty to 0.
To 0.
So the whole lot of them get pushed
Pushed back.
and test on the command test, which is not good news. They drop by a class to disrupted, which means that only half of them will count for fighting next time. And my lads follow up. They're good, these pants, certainly. They know their business. This one was static, was it? Or was it going that way? I can't remember. The marker was like that. So they're both easy to calculate. You've got 9 at 3 and I've got 5, 6, 7 at 5. Basic 4, more heavily armoured 5. So 9 at 3 for you. What have you got?
5.
Yeah, well that gets you 1. You need a 2 to get 1. 5, 7 at 4, 5. 7 at 5. Well, I get 1 automatically, and a 6 gets me a second one. We really need the odds to work. Oh yes,
There you go.
2. So
Is that one off?
that's that gone, and you're pushed and tested at net -2, 1 for the defeat and 1 for class. -2.
Nothing.
-1. But with that, I mean, it doesn't get any worse than 0. So they drop to immediately to red. Where's my box? They drop to lost command. And mine follow up, which means it's going that way. So we got the better of those. We haven't done this one, have we? We jumped this for some
No, we haven't
reason.
done that one.
And that was static as well.
Yeah.
So you've got 4 at 3. 4 at 3, you need a 5.
6.
1 in a test. Blimey. Against the Huzaria. Oops. Well, for the test, they're elite troops, so they're +1. They still fail. So they go shaken. They need a 3. And they get it as well. That's it. It's just an exchange of arrows.
Right.
That's it, isn't it?
These are fire.
They all fire at the
Yes,
beginning of the cycle.
So we're back to movement again.
Yes, so we're back to deciding on charges. Well, I can't. Well, I don't put a marker on the dragoons because that's going to be ordinary movement. Do you have anything over here you want to put a marker on?
For charging.
Charging or reforming the ranks. Reforming the ranks is if you want to do drill movements to realign or change formation or something.
Well, how about the ones, the other heavy horse?
That's the sensible one.
Yes.
Yeah.
They need to come up behind the other ones. I
Right.
don't know if that's charge or movement.
Well, it's a charge.
It's a
if they're going
charge.
into this Stramash.
Okay.
So I actually know what that is, but it doesn't matter. So that's fine. Always check your staff work. Yes, it's correct. That's fine. That's what I didn't do over there. They can't now because
No, they've been pushed back.
they've been pushed back. The best they can do in that, they're less than half strength and their command's all shot to pieces. While they've got some control, the best thing their officers can do is get them out of the way. They've done their bit.
And
They've
let
opened
the
it up
soldiers in.
and let fresh in.
So we just have to take that as a movement then.
Well,
this
what you
time.
could do is you can do it quickly by putting down an R marker of the blues, a blue R marker. That's called. So theoretically, that's hidden from me at the moment. But when we turn it over, we call that reform back, and that means they get a full move backwards at anywhere within a 90-degree arc, 45
Right,
degrees each way
okay,
from the perpendicular from the centre.
Uh-huh.
So they could fall back here through the
Yes, they
skirmishers
can,
sort of thing. Skirmishers aren't a problem, they just open the ranks and let them through.
And can they still fight then?
They can once they've recovered. I mean,
Once
what the thing to do would be for him to go over and
Yeah.
then you do a command test, and instead of being -1, they come out at par because they get +1 for the general, and you try to rally them. And if it's successful, that comes off.
Do that the next time then.
Yeah, so next time we'll come back the time after that. Right, so what would happen now is, don't know who that, does that apply to these skirmishers? It must be, there's nobody else there. Professional shooters. What I would do in that instance is I'd get this unit of skirmishers up to here
Yeah, the movement
shoot
tongue,
over it,
yes.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
and this lot.
But they're not going to charge, are
No,
they?
the
They're just
skirmishers
gonna
don't.
walk. No.
They stand off and shoot.
Right.
And this lot would sort of start to. They've got much more flexible movement. They would start to shimmy around this flank and shoot in,
Shoot in from
converging
the
onto
side,
the corner,
Right.
trying to weaken the corner.
Yep.
They will, of course, know exactly what they're going to do
And fire back
and
accordingly.
and react accordingly.
So any other charges?
So it's here is put a theoretical reform back on that thin remnant. That gets them out of the way, and then in the next turn, your next squadron could come through,
Them.
and you can move up your supports.
So you want red reform.
No, they're all right because
They're all right.
I've put one down for
Right.
them. Did you push me again here? This one?
No.
No. So that is actually a static now, isn't it? I think we'd better assume the worst there. So I'm putting down a marker for that one. You can probably guess what that is. I'll tell you because you haven't seen much of this before. That's an R. That's a reform back. What they're going to do is they're going to take a full step back without firing, trying to give themselves a bit of room. And it's not, the rules don't prevent you from reacting to that because it's incorporated into the rule that there are preliminaries that have to be done to do that, and they would know what those preliminaries,
Right.
you know, the sergeant's running up the files and they're going to go back and
And you're coming
they would
forward,
be
right?
able to respond to
Right,
that.
okay. So we're up to here.
Right. Whether he's going to throw his squadron in to support these faltering friends, which locks him into it in a fight that in the end they can't possibly win, or whether he decides to cut the losses and come back and leave them to it. So I'll put down a marker. Now, is that a C or an R? We don't know.
Right, see. Right. Well, are any of mine doing any charging here? Well, that's a very weakened school.
Yes, they would be cut to
Doing
bits.
anything. So I've got nobody else. Well, I can move them, but I can't charge them.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm going to, well, that might be.
The ones that are side on here, are they?
They've formed a column of march and they're
And
off.
they're going. Well, they're going.
Yeah,
they're
they're
not
going.
actually going to fight anymore.
Well, they're going over here to
Right. To reinforce.
plug this situation.
Right. Okay. 3 of them might scrap it.
Right.
I didn't have any glues down that
No,
time.
well, what's he going to do? Is he going to do the honourable thing or the practical thing?
Practical thing.
He's going to do the practical thing. He's going to go back. Sorry lads, we can't help you. Is that what you would have done? This is just a matter of temperament.
Probably under the circumstances when he sees the advancing troops coming towards him, there's nothing else for him to do.
Oh, it's throwing good money after bad.
Yeah, and throwing good men after him.
Yeah, it's no good.
Not that they were bad.
Yeah, there's nothing can be done to help them really,
No,
without making it worse.
I don't think I had any blues down that time.
You've got that one,
That one, have I?
which is a reform back, if you remember, to get them out of the way neatly.
Uh-huh.
Right, so they reform back, what's left of them, that comes off, and next time this gap is open, but not this time.
Right.
It takes them time to get out of the way.
Yeah.
This is a reform back, including the gun. He's put the gun under their command rather than theirs. So they move, 4 move back, which is 4.
So they're retreating, they're not far away from being off the table.
No, this is a controlled withdrawal. The guns are manhandled back with ropes rather than hitching them up to the horses.
Yeah, they're going to manage to escape without going into the wilderness then.
They've got to, it's got to hold until dark for the infantry to have any chance at all. Then you go through all the, and it's quite interesting, although you don't show it in a war game. What they would do is all sorts of things. They would be given an order, for example, to tear up their shirts. And what you do when you've torn up your shirts is you bind them around your boots, or if you're cavalry, you bind them around the horse's hooves, and that's to get over the bridge as quietly as possible. The engineers would be scattering straw over the bridges.
Right, and they're heading for the bridge
Yeah,
then.
and
so
in
they've
the
got
night-
to turn and head for the bridge.
What you would do is you would leave a handful behind to nip about in their sector, firing the odd musket all
To the-
night.
As a ruse.
You would set up campfires, and you
Right.
would have a few of them singing somewhere, and the rest of the regiment would
feel
go
like
off.
singing with it.
Yeah. Basically, you try to cover your withdrawal and convince them that you're still there.
Yes.
You could go that way, or you could go that way. You really
Yeah, I
want to
think we'll go that way, yes.
Right, and they can fall back in any formation they like, so they're going to narrow their front.
Right.
Okay, that's an R. I'm afraid to take that with them. That applies to that lot of skirmishers, not that one. What the hell is Stuart's going to do?
Well, they're not charging anyway from behind their palisade.
Oh God, no. They either keep on what they're doing or start trying to withdraw. But they're too close and too many. The right flank cover is gone, he's off. There's nothing to stop that, that goes straight in.
Yeah, behind the...
This is
Yeah,
where you should get control of this one.
And
That one's coming against you,
do that.
so you don't need that. And it's ordinary movement here now.
Right.
So shall we start on ordinaries?
Yes.
Are you going to, well, they would surge into these buildings probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. But nothing's there, so that doesn't make any
Nothing's
difference.
there,
They're
so
just
it's-
out of action, really.
Scraping around to see if there's anything they can nick.
Yeah. The wee commander, he's
Yeah. Get out of there, you bloody bandits.
Right. Okay, so
Right.
that's the guns are.
The guns are hitched up, they're on the move. So it's 50-50 whether the guns are going to go. That, no, that was just barricading the doors.
Right, okay. So that's their move.
That's their move.
They're not, they've moved.
They've done all they
Moving
can.
anywhere.
Stuart's are not. So it's yours here that are next.
Yeah, well, they're going to move forward.
Right, so it's the skirmish is up to that, and this lot, we don't want them masking this because you need that open to get your assault troops through.
Yeah.
So what they're going to do is something like this, and start to put pressure on without blocking that way in that was so bloodily earned. Old Mustafa Leak here. Bring them up. That's straight from Carry On. Doesn't it sound like it, Mustafa Leak? You wouldn't be allowed to say that today.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Why should you?
So they're all just.
Wood.
Yeah.
Right.
All of them.
Skirmishers in front, bit thinned out. The pyrotechnicist, who has got one rocket left, and these woeful Balkan levies. Pressed men motivated only by fear of their officers.
Is that how it was, is it?
Yeah, that's how it was for them. A lot of them are covert Christians and really don't want to be there.
Right. And so the blue ones are engaged with them. So
Yeah,
they can't
that's
do
right.
anything, but these ones can come up.
They can come up, yes, up to heavy cavalry up to 10 inches. No, up to 12, sorry, up to 12.
Yeah, we don't want to move them too far up.
I'm talking nonsense, Margaret. Heavy cavalry move is slightly, it's 6, up to 6 in all.
Well, onto the road, I think.
Yes, it would be just about there. There. Perfectly formed ranks.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, their skirmish is to cover them. And he's the boss. Now what's to happen here? Right, well this is a reform back, isn't it? So they're going straight back, comme ça.
And these are engaged, these ones, aren't they?
They can't because they're all engaged, I'm afraid. I would prefer it that they weren't.
And yep, well, we could do.
That could actually be quite awkward for me.
Move the front ones.
Right, so
Yeah,
they're,
these right in behind,
Right.
There.
they'll come up and
And the
support that
friends
line.
behind.
They can support that.
And then they might as well come up too then.
And send one block through. Yeah. Alright, that's about right. So that would get to about there.
And then
These remnants could follow them and they can wait.
and they can wait. But I think we need to bring these forward a bit.
Right, well, at your pleasure. Where do you want them to go?
I think we're going to swing them round to go for
Right,
this.
yeah. Well, he's a sovereign prince, he can do what he likes.
Right, so I can move them how far?
They're light cavalry, so they can do 10.
Oh well, they can come right up to here then, can't they?
Yeah, that's about right. As are those.
They go there or behind?
Probably behind.
Behind.
And that you're into
And that's
his...
a different group.
Yeah, that's his
Yes.
bodyguard and reserves.
Yes, well, we'll just leave them there. He doesn't need to move. I think they do.
Yeah, they're part of that squad.
Right.
What you've got there is 1, 2, 3 full squadrons and a thin remnant of a 4th.
Right. Okay. So I think that's. We'll move these off the table actually.
Yeah, they.
They're not are just about.
They're about to
go
scale
as well.
up,
Yes.
yeah.
There's no point keeping them. Right. I think that's us. We're still leaving the Pasha up here.
Yeah, well,
Too easy.
he's having a sandwich now. You better remember to pack them.
And these are going, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'll need to put them, I can't really get many more of horses on there.
That's encouraging.
This tree.
Well, I'll put them on the other one.
That's cleared the table a wee bit, hasn't it?
Yes. See, if we can get away with this and hold on until dark, then objectives achieved. And there's been a fair old butcher's bill for the Turks. But it would be the getting away that would be
Okay,
the difficult thing.
so are we fighting now then?
Right, have we done all the moving? Man, no, you better stay on the high ground. So you can see what's going on. Alright. They've done what they can. They're on the run. Well.
So I'm starting at this end.
I'm just working out what to do here. I think the only thing they can do is stay where they are and fight it out. This is the disaster now.
Coming round.
They'll never hold it home. Jeez. But if we fall back, we just give up the palisade, and then we'll end up fighting them somewhere inside the fort. For them, standard range, they've got the old arquebuses. Basic 3 moved to covered target 1. So you've got 12 at 1. Here 5. No.
No. Okay.
The other skirmishers, you've got 6, we'll count them all in one go, they're all the same quality. You've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 at 3, moved 2, covered target 1. 11 at 1, 5 again. No. Right, well, Stuart's reply. Divide it or concentrate it. Concentrate it. They had a casual, no they didn't, that was rescinded. 24 at short range, that doesn't go short range 5, but open order 4. 24 at 4. Brutal. 3 and a 6 gets me a 4th. So we'll say 3 of them, 1 of them, and a test on both units, each at -1. So a test on this one, please. 0 is disrupted. 3 is not quite so bad, that's shaken. Right, so that comes off, is replaced by that. So Stuart's are really giving them a hard time. In their blue bonnets. I don't understand that. Why can't I remember how that works? Oh, it's the same for all types, that's what it means. Right, okay, sorry. So it's under 12, so they need a 2 to hit. They hit, roll for effect. You get a 3, which will be 1. Yeah, so 1 of them. But no morale test, which is what we really wanted. They don't have any hand weapons, they don't have any distance weapons, but they've moved, and their range brackets are 0 to 4 and 4 to 8, so that's standard range. There are 7 of them at basic 3, moved 2. 7 at 2, 5 is required.
6.
So that takes that out. On a 4 or better, and they get a 1. Hey-ho. 1 on the command test. So they immediately drop 2 classes on the morale. It's looking bad. I forgot to move these, sorry. Can we go back to the movement phase just for a moment? They should have come forward. The heavy cavalry, so, but the Polish heavy cavalry, so they're 8.
Right, so firing from your redoubt now.
Yes, right. Well, the only thing to do is to try to smash them up. Under a foot, 2 to hit. 4. Roll for effect. 6. Whop a heavy gun with a 6. 4. There's already one gone, that squadron's destroyed.
Okay.
The ranks. It doesn't actually mean they're all dead, it just means that
They're out of
it's
action.
smashed up to the point where they can't do anything effective. This is always a bad sign when you get nowhere to put anything.
Oh, carry off your side.
Yeah.
Right, if you also put guns.
Right, well it's the other battery
Oh,
here
the
and the
other one.
muskets in the redoubt if they've got. Well, the obvious target is that squadron. That is not under a foot, that's about 15 inches. So, heavy gun at 15 needs a 4 to hit. 6. Roll for effect. 4 heavy gun. 4. That tore him up. Am I reading that right? It seems very good. Artillery damage chart, fortress guns, 4 to hit, roll for effect, roll a 4, gets 4, yeah. It's because they're big fortress. 3, you need a 4. No, mine come back with 4 at 3, short range 4. 4 at 4 is 0.4. 4 for a hit. 6, that's 1 in a test. Well, it can only test one of them because they're 2 separate squadrons. So it's a test on this one figure rounded to net -2. They pass. They may be shot to pieces, but they're brave. Right, it's an enfilade as well. And it's under 12. Well, there's no such thing as a can't miss, we once legislated. Theoretically, the way the numbers come out, that's a can't miss. But there ain't no such thing. So we thought, well, there's a factor for the guns being improperly loaded or
That's
something.
nice stuff.
So they need a 2
Right.
to hit, which they just manage. And then they fire the big fortress gun and they get a 2, which is 2. So that would settle the account. There. Yeah, we'll have to count it as long range with our crappy guns now. So it's, and the basics are only 2, so it's 8 at 1. So they need a 6. No chance. And this light gun will fire into this block at about 15, we'll call it. 15 inches for a light gun. They need a 4 to hit. Because it's not from the front of the unit, so it's 1, 2, 3, call it 4.
Mm-hmm.
It's maximum range for bows, so it's not going to be very impressive. It's 4 at 3, long range 2, covered target 1, and artillery gunners count as a dispersed target. So it's 0 really. 4 at 0 can't do it.
Can't be done.
No.
Okay.
So it's just a spatter of arrows
Yes, so
along the
nothing.
front.
So who else have I got that's firing anything? Nothing. I don't think anybody. They're all
on the move or otherwise engaged. They've done
They've done theirs.
5, 6 more heavily armoured. 7, 6 at 7. 6 at 7 is 1.5. So 5 or better gets me a second one. It's a 4. So that's 1. You're coming back with 5, 6 at 3. No, the casualty counts 7 at 3. Here 4.
3.
No, so they're routed and skedaddle off down the centre there. And now, and ticking that red marker with them, they are routed. Mine have to do the pursuit test. Pass on a 4 or better. So yours would have got to about here.
Yes.
Yeah, well, mine got careering after them.
You need to come across these ones then. Eventually.
That's the Khan. Look,
Indeed,
for heaven's
yes.
sake. He didn't come here to get himself killed, you know.
He didn't really, but nobody else.
Just shows you, even Tartars can do it. You need a 3.
4.
There it is. And mine come back with a rather modest 2 at 4. More heavily armoured 5. So if I can get a 5 or better I can draw it, but I can't win. No. Pushed. They're already shaken. And tested. -1 for the casualties, +1 for elite. Par test. 4 or better. Failed. Dropped to lost. Well, you won't push them again because if you win, you'll have eliminated them. But
They don't come off then.
Oh, they will. They're not this time.
No,
The one in the
right.
middle is theoretically
Alright,
still with us.
Okay, so the next skirmish should be here. Then.
Yeah, I'm going forward, and I've got 8 at 4. Cavalry going forward is 5, 6. More heavily armoured 7. 8 at 7. 1.2. So they're gone, and you tested. No, you haven't hit back yet, have you?
No.
So you're disrupted, which means you only get half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You get 3.5. So the first die you're rolling to see is if you've got 3 or 4 effectives. So you've got 4 effectives. So you're hitting back with 4 at 3. You need a 5 to get 1. No, so you lose that by 2. Your raw troops, so they test a -3. There's no surviving that really. 1, you drop to lost, so you don't actually break this time, but next time we'll break. Mine are going forward again.
2.
Yeah, I don't think you ever did it. I mean, that was back in the days when you, I mean, that, you'll hardly believe it, but that's with a Madonna on the one side and the Polish eagle on there. That's a hand-painted flag.
Amazing. Did you do that?
No, I didn't do that. Now they're laser printed, so you
Yes.
just buy an extra sheet. And,
Okay, so where are we now then?
yeah. Is it?
Is it? Did we do down here? Yes, we did, didn't we?
Oh, no, wait a minute, we didn't. What were we doing? We were doing melee,
Yeah,
and we were working
this.
this way.
This way.
Oh, right,
So
I beg
we've
your
still got all
Yes,
the,
you're right, you're
the
absolutely
hand
right.
soldiers.
It's this one.
Yes, that's right, that one.
Right, now, this has got knocked as well. You didn't push me back last time, did you then?
No,
It's hung on. Right, so it's the same again. You've got 5 at 4 basic, or heavily armoured 5. Yeah, you've got 5 at 5.
3.
And you rolled a 3. 5 at 5. Needed a 2. So you got 1. And this is the 3rd round, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Right, okay, so the halberds have now worked their way forward. It took twice as long because their command was a bit shaky. 6, 8, 10 at 3 to come back with. This is my chance to turn it. 10 at 3 is 1 and roll for the test. 1 but no test, so that's a draw again. Except I've knocked down one of yours this time. And you've knocked down one of mine. So that stays static. They're hanging on. Mind you, I should be testing for him, shouldn't I? I should have tested for him twice now. Because I forgot to do it last time. So, Hieronymus Bolonsky, known as the Venerable.
No, Hieronymus Bosch.
No, Bolonsky.
Right.
General of foot in the 1630s, apparently, from a list somewhere.
So you're testing him.
Right, I'm testing him twice. I need 2 d6s. I'll have to do this test twice because I forgot last time.
Right.
And a roll of 7 means he's the one of the casualties. 6. Six.
So he's not.
No, he's got away with it twice.
Escapes it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've done the shooting.
A squadron in, haven't you? God. Yeah. So mine's easy to work out. There's no deduction for shaken. So I've got 6 at 4. But I'm certainly not more heavily armoured now. So I've got 6 at 4, which means I need a 3. 1 and a test. So their last remnant is obliterated. I can do with those. You pass, right, so there's 1 against you at the moment, but you now get the one who was there, who's 1 at 4, who's nothing, right, so that doesn't count, but you've then got 5 at 4 for them, and it is just basic 4 because they're not advancing. They used their lances last time and they're equal armour. So your front line gets 5 at 4, you need a 3. Right, it's now a draw at this precise moment,
Right.
but then the second squadron comes in and you've got 5 more heavily armoured, but they've got lance, so it's 5 at 7. So you've won it already. It's 1 and a 6 gets you another. You don't get that. So it's 2 of mine, 1 of yours, and I'm tested. I'm pushed and tested at -1 on elite troops, -1.
That'd be a 2.
Would be no, but I'm elite, so it's 4, so 3 counts as 4, so I pass, so I don't get any worse. I was pushed, so that's there, but I'm not broken.
Right.
Right, tough old regiment. Regiment Kaiser Ferdinand.
And then these.
Here, oh yes, this is going my way, isn't it? 5, 6, 7 at 5 I've got. 7 at 5, 1.6. 1 against you. And then you, I've got a few left in this box.
That's it.
Oh, you've done it?
Done it.
Right. That's one of mine.
Oh, that's so is. Right.
Right, so that's 1 against you, but then you hit back with half of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, for counting the casualty, which is 4 at 3. You can draw it if you can get a 5 or a 6. No, so you lose. They're already lost, so they're routed.
All of them.
Yeah, not him. He's the general. He'll just have to get out. And I have to do the pursuit test, but I'm in good order. So it's a par test. 4 or better, and they managed to hold. Come on.
So they're pursuing them.
So they're pursuing your routers. And they're in an out of control pursuit at the moment.
There's not much for them to do, is there?
No, they've got a good chance of pulling up because the command's solid, so they get a test each time, and it will take them 2 more to get off.
And that's them off the field altogether.
Yes, but they'll get 2 tests at 4 or better to start.
Right.
1 for each turn. So that could have been worse.
Right.
Now you see how this is shaped up. I mean, these haven't broken yet, and although you're pushing forward, your supports are now all gone. And I've got, alright, they're only lights, but I've got 2 waves of them. We might yet be able to hold that. And if that happens, they're on the dark side of the moon really, because it'll take them a couple of turns to get into here. And it's actually your right flank that comes under pressure then, briefly, until your reserves come up.
Oh,
For
to let them
anybody who
escape.
can get out, I think they've had it.
Yeah.
Probably the Polish foot could fall back under the cover of this redoubt, which hasn't really been challenged.
Not really.
And the cavalry could hold this long enough for them to come out. But I think to my left of the road, we've had it.
Yes, I think so.
The dragoons will
you're-
disappear into the steppe
Yeah.
and try to survive.
I think overall, I mean, your troops have certainly destroyed a lot more of mine, but I had a lot more to start with, of course.
Yes, but that wouldn't bother you. Casualties are not something that Turkish generals worry much about.
Right.
There's always more. You expect that.
Right.
It's only when the casualties start falling on them and them.
Yeah, well, that's not going to be for a wee while, is it? So
that-
I think we'll call it a day at that, Alistair.
I think you've won it. Yes, I'm going to call that a Turkish victory with that portion of the Polish army
Getting away.
saved.
Yes, I think
This
so.
lot.
I think so.
The dragoons are in the steppe. We don't know what happens to them, and Stuarts have to try to cut some kind of deal. But that would be an interesting conversation.
Is it cutting the deal?
Yeah,
Well, they'd probably join up with the other group.
I think.
Priests or holy people will probably know that. Well,
Yeah, they probably do talking Latin. The dragoons disappear into the steppe and may or may not get away, and the rest fall back over the bridges and then burn them.
well,
The line is taken and the Pasha writes a letter to the Sultan to that effect that it's a glorious victory.
not quite.
And then the Sultan's direct agents in the army write a secret report, and the Sultan makes his decision based on that,
As to who he executes.
as to who gets promoted and who gets executed.
I'm since they've not moved, neither have they. They're not, yeah, well, they have, haven't they?
The job's been done without
Yes,
committing the elites
yes.
at all.
That's true.